Here with the latest on all this, Dr. Sreedhar Potarazu, the CEO of Vital Springs Technologies, and Teddy Weisberg, the founder of Seaport Securities. Welcome to you both. Great to have you here. Teddy, I'll start with you. So 460-point down day at its worst today. 300-point swing to the positive side. 173 points is where we ended up down on the S&P. How much of this is Ebola-driven? How serious is this, and why are we so volatile?
Well, I think it's very serious because it creates a huge unknown, an enormous unknown, and that's what investors can't stand. Now, it's just not Ebola. It sort of is the event du jour at the moment. There's a lot of other things going on. It's the mess in the Middle East, political dysfunction here. We had some negative economic numbers today. It's sort of a perfect storm, Jerry, for a downdraft in the stock market, and clearly we're getting that. Getting
just that. And Dr. Potarazu, the markets turned this morning. Even before the markets were open, futures turned dramatically south when it was announced that a second woman was infected with the virus. And we were told later that she was allowed to fly. And that could have been one of the reasons the markets took another dive. Why did they allow her to fly?
Jerry, this is the most outrageous thing I've ever seen. And as a surgeon, I'm just completely flabbergasted by the lack of adequate communication from the top down, the lack of protocols being followed by the hospital, and the irresponsibility of allowing somebody that was in direct contact with somebody with Ebola to fly. It's an absolute nightmare, and we have to take to task everybody that has authority or responsibility for implementing these procedures. As a surgeon, I can tell you that every hospital is required to have protocols in terms of how every healthcare professional is supposed to gown up and is supposed to abide by not having any skin exposure, which was not the case in the professionals at this Texas hospital. I want to get to that in just a second. I want to get back to Teddy for just a moment on the markets and the reaction, because I think a lot of this, the very things that Dr. Potarazu is talking about here, are the very things that are unsettling to all of us, Americans, traders, you name it. It's all very unsettling. And Teddy, you talk about black swans, and these are unexpected events that occur that people don't really see as being an issue for the markets have become bigger than life. Is Ebola one of them?
Well, yeah, I think this seems to be the chatter, and it's been the chatter for a week or so amongst the traders that I talked to. Now, you don't want to say that publicly because it's a very dire scenario. And the last time we really saw this was a number of years ago with long-term capital management, which was tied to a lot of leverage and Russian debt, and practically blew the markets up then, and a lot of the banks and Wall Street firms came to the rescue of that particular company and perhaps saved the day. Is this a black swan event? Only time will tell, but it is very scary, and it's got the markets very unnerved.
And it's hard to understand what next. I think that's a big question here. Dr. P, you were mentioning that there was a period of time that many, many emergency workers in Dallas, in that hospital, Dallas Presbyterian, were not protected while they were caring for patient zero. In fact, we're learning from the Dallas Morning News that they were wearing no hazmat suits for the first 2 days of caring for this fellow, this poor fellow who actually ended up dying. Is that shocking to you? I mean, you're somebody who's been around this kind of thing. Are you astonished?
Yes, it is. I'm absolutely astonished, because there should have been adequate education for all of those professionals before the patient arrived. You heard the debriefing from the nurses today who were providing information about the fact that the patient was in the emergency room and was not isolated for a significant period of time. The nurses were not adequately gowned in terms of having all of the areas of his skin that were not exposed. And then you have this patient who was taking care of him get on a plane to Cleveland a day before she developed symptoms. And so you've now expanded the universe of people that are technically exposed beyond Dallas. And the consequences of this are outrageous. And I hope that tomorrow morning, if not tonight, the president issues absolute protocol for Ebola for every hospital, because where is the Surgeon General? The communicator who is supposed to be in place.
That's where the Surgeon General
is. Where is he when we need one?
Or she. I couldn't agree with you more. So the woman you're talking about is Amber Vinson, and she's the woman who traveled back home to Ohio, part of the group who treated patient zero. And of course, we're going to be hearing from the president shortly on this. He's said to be bringing his cabinet together to come up with the best response possible. Teddy, are the markets going to continue to trade on this? Because not only are you worried about your health, you're also worried about your financial future with these headlines.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we are clearly on the other side of the equation now. Now, for the last 2 or 3 years, people have bought the dips and they've gotten away with it. And I suspect they might have bought this dip early on, but this time it doesn't look like they're going to get away with it. Now, I would say this. At some point, stocks will find a level where maybe the values will reappear. And in fact, we started to see that today, believe it or not, in some of the energy sectors, which have basically really been beat up in this market. Some of those stocks look like they really are oversold. But the fact is the news remains unsettled, too many unknowns. I mean, even down 160 points is a pretty bad day. The fact that we were down 460, closed down 170 kind of makes it look like a good day, but it was not a good day. It was a bad day.
It was not a good day. Not for health in America and not for your pocketbook either. Teddy and Dr. Potarazu, thanks so much for coming on tonight. We really appreciate it.